Welcome to the Rewrite Your Life Story podcast, hosted by your favourite duo, Stephen and Charlene. They're here to help you transform your mindset and create a positive outlook on life. Are you tired of feeling stuck and unfulfilled? Are you ready to take control of your thoughts and emotions and rewrite your story? Well, you're in the right place. They will be sharing inspiring stories, practical tips, and expert advice to help you on your journey to a better you. You'll learn how to let go of negative self-talk, embrace your strengths, and focus on the good things in life. Each episode will be joined by amazing guests who have rewritten their own life stories and are now living their best lives. From successful entrepreneurs to accomplished athletes, we'll bring you stories of resilience, courage, and triumph. So grab a cup of coffee, get cozy, and get ready to be inspired. Tune in every week for a new episode of the Rewrite Your Life Story podcast. Let's rewrite our stories together and make every day count.
In this episode, we're interviewing David Lindsay as a personal trainer and professional speaker from Sydney, Australia. David played rugby league for many years up to New South Wales Cup, formerly reserve grade, but suffered 2 knee reconstructions at an early age, cutting short his rugby league career. Join us as we delve into his story today.
Before we get started, we want to remind you that the information presented in this podcast is for educational and informational purposes only. The views and opinions expressed by the hosts and their guests are their own and do not represent the views of any organisation or entity. Additionally, any information presented should not be taken as legal, medical, or financial advice. Always consult with a licensed professional in the respective field for any advice or guidance. Now that we've got that out of the way, let's dive into today's topic and learn how to transform our lives through positive thinking and taking control of our stories. Thanks for joining us.
Before we begin, we want to give you a heads up. We may be discussing some sensitive and personal topics that might bring up some strong emotions or discomfort. Our goal is to create a safe and supportive space, but we know that everyone's experiences and triggers are different. If you start feeling overwhelmed or triggered during an episode, remember to prioritize your well-being. It's totally okay to hit pause and take a breath. Your self-care is important, and looking after your mental and emotional health should always come first. If you ever need extra support, we encourage you to reach out to a mental health professional or someone you trust. You're not alone, and there are resources available to help you on your personal journey. Thank you for joining us on this incredible ride with the Rewrite Your Life Story podcast. Together we'll navigate life's challenges and rewrite our narratives with strength and resilience.
Well, Stephen and Charlene here from Rewrite Your Life podcast, and we're really excited. Today we've got David Lindsay on the show. David, how are you?
I'm fantastic. Thank you very much, guys. And I'm super excited to be sharing this time with you, with your listeners, to hopefully give them some value that they can implement straight away to increase the vitality in their life and in the people around them as well.
Awesome. Now, David, you've got such an interesting story. I think you've had a multifaceted career when it comes to sports, when it comes to other industries as well. So tell us right from the beginning, growing up, why you got into sports and what led you on this path.
Yeah, I've been always interested in sports and just being physically active right from as young as I can remember. I grew up in the Shire. I'm an Engadine born and raised kid. And I got into soccer from when I was 4. My dad's from England and he goes, we'll get you playing real football. So I played soccer until I was 11. And I also played baseball as well. I was very good at baseball. I was ranked number 2 in the state when I was under 12s. But my attention sort of went across to football. When I was 12 years old, my mum and dad split up when I was younger, and my stepdad sort of came in when I was 12, and I was allowed to play rugby league. With that, even being a small bloke, I was super competitive. I've always been competitive. I think having an older brother really brings that out of me. I've got an older brother and a younger sister, but I was really, really good at rugby league. The team that I played with, Engadine Dragons, they were undefeated for the 3 years that I was there. And I got picked up and went across and played with South. So South took me from the Cronulla area across to theirs. It was a fantastic test for me. At a young age, I didn't realise how this would really transition into the rest of my life, but it has. I could have taken the easy option and gone with Cronulla, signed the contract straight away, or take the harder option of going to South Sydney, where they had so many more juniors. Their guys were so much bigger than what I was used to. And I wasn't guaranteed a spot. I definitely wasn't guaranteed a contract. But I decided after talking with my stepdad, I'd go down that route so that I really earned my position. And I did. And I went really well with that. They signed me up the following year. So it all evened out in the end. But I met some fantastic people. I won a competition with South Sydney and then had my first knee reconstruction when I was 17. And then that put me out of the game for 6 months. I used that time. Yes, I couldn't use my legs, but I could use my upper body. So I got incredibly big and incredibly strong. And I got back into rugby league, back playing with South Sydney, went across and played with Newtown as well. But then I suffered my second knee reconstruction, which that put me out of the game that I've been doing for 10 years, the game that I love, the game that I really aspired to become professional at. And all of a sudden my world was ripped from underneath me. But that didn't really get me down too much, because my passion is still with training, still with helping people. So again, I got even bigger in my upper body. And a bloke came and approached me one time when I was at Bondi Junction, Westfields, and go, "Excuse me, this is going to sound weird, but have you done arm wrestling before?" And I went, that is weird. I've never had that approach before. But yes, I have. He goes, "Well, how do you go?" And I said, "When I do it for drinks, I don't buy drinks, they buy me drinks." And he laughed and goes, "Have you thought about doing it as a sport?" And I went, "I didn't even know it was a sport." And then he handed me his card, which was, he was the president of the Australian Arm Wrestling Federation. After my head stopped spinning when I got home, I was still going, is this guy for real? I decided to call him up the next day. And from there, I got into arm wrestling, which I again did very well at. So I've been sporty my entire life. That isn't where it ends by any means. That's not even halfway through. But I just don't want to keep talking, because I do tend to get carried away like that, because I love sharing my story and helping people improve themselves.
Arm wrestling as a sport, what is that like? Like, you don't turn on Channel 7 and see the arm wrestling. So what is the world of arm wrestling sport?
Yeah, it's so weird, because being in Australia, we're not exposed to that at all. But over in the States, it's getting more and more popular now. You're seeing, and especially over in Europe, it's extremely popular over there. But I was surprised. I thought it was just you get in, grip it and rip it. But like with everything in life, it's about technique. It's about training. It's about practice. Yes, strength plays an important part, but tactics, looking at your opponent, beating them mentally before you beat them physically. But yeah, it was a sport, and I really, really excelled at it. The first time after training, I went to drive home, I had to use one arm because my arm was shaking. It was just like, I think it was about an hour and a half of just nonstop arm wrestling, getting the technique right, working, grip, grinding it out. But yeah, I did really well at that. And my coach decided, we had a round the world trip, and he planned for me to go in some professional arm wrestling tournaments over in the States. So we were supposed to go to Corfu, Greece for a mate's wedding, then across to England, around there then to Barbados to see my grandparents, then to America to go in some professional arm wrestling tournaments, back to Australia. Unfortunately, we didn't make it that far. I was mucking around with a mate the day after the wedding in Corfu, and I got him down in the bar. Now my ribs were resting on the bar, and I was ready to drop it down. Unfortunately, I turned my body, which is the first thing you learn not to do. And it was a loud noise. I thought I'd broken the bar, but it went boom. And I looked at my arm, and it was bent. Where it's supposed to be straight, it was bent at right angles. And he goes, "I've broken his arm." And my wife, my girlfriend at the time, now my wife, I'm so glad she stuck around. She was about 5 meters away, and she thought that I'd broken the bar as well because of the noise. But we rushed to the hospital and got it set so that I could fly back to Australia to get it operated on. Yeah, there went my career in arm wrestling. The worst thing from that, though, was not that I broke my arm, but it was when I came back to Australia and they put a plate in my arm. So I had to get cut all the way up there. when they put the plate in, they hit a nerve. When they hit the nerve, my arm became paralyzed. And I'm not a good patient at the best of times. But after a week of it not being able to use my arm, I was frustrated. And I went and got a nerve conduction study done where they put needles in your arm to see how the nerves were going. And I did the worst thing you can do is ask the person that's doing the test, so what are the results? And I was excited for her to go, oh, they're coming back, they're doing this. She goes, David, I'm afraid your nerves are shriveled up and dying. And right then, my world, that was worse than the knee reconstructions. That was worse than anything that I've ever been through before and anything that I've been through since. Because my whole personality, my whole identity was as an athlete, as a coach and as a trainer. But that got ripped from underneath me. So who was I? I went into some dark places there and I'd never been there before. Luckily, I haven't been there since, but I shut myself off to the world. The only people that were allowed in was my wife, my girlfriend at the time. And that was it. I locked off outside. She was bringing my close friends in, but they would only stay for a little while because I couldn't handle them seeing me from this big muscular bloke to who I'd become. I'd become a shadow of myself, or not even that. I'd lost my identity. I'd lost my will. I'd lost my confidence. All of this because of that broken arm.
It's so interesting that, you know, as humans, we put our identity, and I know we've spoken about this before, Charlene, especially in our journey. Now, our journey is nothing like your journey, but I'm not the sporty type at all. But people put identities in things rather than their security in themselves as humans and who we are as a human. We put it in things or careers. And then when they're ripped out of us, we lose our sense of self and we lose our sense of purpose. And and you know, I hear that so often when we're interviewing people, and also with your clients that you're done counseling with, and with my clients in coaching. And it's really interesting. You know, we've had a few guests speak about learning how to love themselves again. And that was their way out of that and refinding their purpose. What do you feel was your way at rediscovering your purpose?
Yeah, well, that's a great question, because what I think it was like I had a couple more movements along the way as well. But when I first got the movement back into my arm, and then I found myself back being able to train, because like you said, my identity was as an athlete. My identity was as a provider and as a protector, but that got stripped away from me. So I think part of the process was being able to know that I was not disabled, being able to know that, you know, I could do A, B, and C again. It was really getting out of my own mind, because there was that internal battle going on. Oh, David, you were this, now you're nothing. And then I had to build up my resilience that way, where it's no longer just physical. And that all of these things along the way as well have really helped me become the person that I am. They've helped me become a better person as a result of those injuries. I don't use it as a crutch anymore of, oh, you're nothing if you're not lifting weights. Whereas at one point, that's the position that I was in. Now I know that I can help so many more people through my voice, through my talent of speaking now. Yes, I know it's going a little bit now because I've done presentations the last 3 or 4 days. I've been going out and I've been spreading the love. And with that, it's finding your voice metaphorically, but also finding it in reality as well.
Now, when you started coming out of that dark place, as you refer to it, you went into martial arts, jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
What made you go down that path?
Well, I think it was proving not just it didn't matter what everyone was doing. It was proving to myself that I can still do it, that I've still got this competitive drive as well, because I've been a competitive guy for as long as I can remember, and hopefully for as long as I'm going to breathe. I want to have that competitive edge. So I really wanted to test myself. And my way of thinking is a little bit different to most. I had 2 knee reconstructions playing rugby league, which is an incredibly physical game. I had a worse injury doing arm wrestling, where people don't think about getting injuries arm wrestling. So I thought, if I keep going down that direction, I play chess, I get excited, I fall off the chair, I'd hurt my back. So I went, I'll go the other way. I'll go the incredibly physical route and do kung fu, jiu-jitsu, kickboxing, and wrestling. And eventually that led to me doing MMA and cage fights.
What made you get into, again, we talk about arm wrestling, which is quite physical, and you popped your arm and broke your arm, and now we're getting into cage fighting.
Yeah. I think as well, it's a mentality that I've had from when I was little, because my grandpa was a wrestler, and he used to show us all the time when we were growing up, me against my cousin, we were constantly wrestling. And it's a place, like, I really like the art of getting comfortable being uncomfortable. Yeah.
I love the art of being, say that again.
Wrestling to me is the art of getting comfortable being uncomfortable.
Oh, talk more into that. That's brilliant.
Yeah. And I've had so many conversations about this with my wrestling coach. And it was because of my wrestling coach that I started going off on this trajectory to speaking, to getting into the corporate world. Because he said, as a fighter, you're limited. Like, with not just time span, but the amount of reach that you have. As a trainer, you're limited. As a speaker, as a person that gets out there, it's unlimited. Both with the time, you can speak until you're 80, until you're 90. There's no athletes that are out there still competing at the top level at that age. But yeah, it's the philosophies in wrestling that goes across to the real world. And that's where we got my 5 steps towards improved vitality, where it's seeing the gaps in energy, the gaps in mindset. And yeah, we'd spend hours and hours both wrestling and talking about philosophies from the wrestling mat and how that reverts across to the real world.
Awesome. Now, you do a lot of work with the corporate world, and you do a lot of work with, and we'll get into that, and we really want to explore your vitality as well. And one question we sometimes ask, and I can see that you've alluded to this, so I want to put it out there. How important have mentors been to you in your journey?
So important. Like, at the time, Steve Jobs says it the best: we can't connect the dots looking forward, but looking backwards, it's abundantly apparent. My wife, she pointed out to me, she goes, David, you need to have these people in your life, because when I didn't have like mentors or coaches around me, I was sort of like flailing in the wind. It wasn't that I didn't have discipline. I've always been incredibly disciplined, but I wasn't exactly sure where to angle that discipline. And that's where the gym and training with sports, that was where my focus was going. Then even going into arm wrestling, talking with Neil, who was my arm wrestling coach, talking to him about things outside of the arm wrestling world. And then talking to Amir, my wrestling coach, they just open up doors that you never would consider for yourself. So they're paramount if you want to move forward and upwards in life. There's no one at a top level, whether it's in sport, whether it's in business, whether it's in any part of life, that has got there by themselves without mentors and without coaches.
Awesome. What tools have been important for you? Practical tools or resources to rewrite your journey all these times?
It's the people that are around you. Like, the first step was where I could have gone the easy route of Cronulla or the hard route of St. George. That was my stepdad, where he goes, you've never taken the easy option. Why start now? And admittedly, I was only 14 at that time, but he wanted me to take that hard option. And my grandpa, even before that. And then, like I said, my coaches in football, they put me in the deep end. And that's where you really learn to swim. You don't learn to swim by reading the book. You learn to swim by getting in there. And then it was my arm wrestling coach. And then my wrestling coach helped with my mindset like I wouldn't believe. And then from that as well, I've had speaking coaches along the way, and people that still now, I've got people that I work with that they step back and they give me feedback, because that's what we always need to keep moving forward. Is you need feedback. It's not always positive, but it's always constructive. What can I do better each and every time? What can I do better next time? What can I do better next time to keep improving myself?
Charlene knows this particular person. I have a dear friend of mine, and she always says her key phrase is feedback is a gift. And that's what I've just alluded to. Feedback is a gift. So
yeah. And as an athlete, like, because I've been there where other speakers have got feedback and they just put the wall up. Whereas my background as an athlete, particularly as a fighter, is I need feedback to get better. Because it's no good my coach telling me, David, you're brilliant at this. David, you're brilliant at that. Because the maths don't lie. If I get knocked out, I got knocked out. Maybe it was a better punch, but the person still landed that punch. If it was a submission, the person still landed that submission. So if my coach is lying to me, not only am I going to get hurt and hurt badly, but it's going to look bad for him. So I go out and actively look for feedback.
Tell us about David today. Tell us about your career, and then let's go into your vitality message.
Yeah, for sure. Like I do speaking, and during the end of 2019, 2020, I was winding down, because I also manage a gym as well. I was winding down that, getting that ready to pass off to the next person. But like everyone, the world got shook up due to COVID, and every event stopped. Speaking stopped. All of this stopped, but there was so many benefits to come from that. So I'm still managing a gym, and the speaking starting to pick up now as well. But one of the great things that happened during COVID is this. People are more open to podcasts. People are more open to events that are online. So instead of sitting in the corner, putting the cover over my head going, poor me, I got up and I did a lot of networking. And I did a lot of speaking all the way over in Singapore, all the way over in America, in Canada, in India. So I traveled around the world from the comfort of my home at Arncliffe. So it really opened up the world to people like us, where this wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for the lockdowns that we had. So there's always positives. It's just, where do you choose to look? Do you want to sit in the corner and wait until the clouds pass? Or do you get out and do you dance in the rain? Jump in the puddles and have fun while you're doing it.
Love that.
Awesome.
David, you mentioned at one stage that you didn't want to see yourself as a married guy with kid working in the hospitality, and then you decided to do something about that. Tell us a little bit about what that was about.
That's where everything started off. I did start off working poker machines, working in a bar, working in the cellars, and I always was doing personal training on the side. I've been a trainer for about 24 years now. I'm a very, very old man. But it was at the transition of like thinking about things moving forward. I didn't want to work late nights. I didn't want to work weekends. I wanted to be there with my family. And this has really opened up so many different options. And it's about taking that jump. You know, no one's going to go, David, please come and speak for us. I have to put myself out there, and I'll put myself out there now. Anyone that wants me to come and speak, reach out and get me to come and speak, because that's what I do now. So it's constant transitions. Get the same as with wrestling, getting comfortable being uncomfortable, knowing that there's going to be no's out there, but each no gets you closer to a yes. And that's where you get feedback as well. Okay, so what was it about the proposal that you didn't like? And then you get feedback, so next time it can be better. Or maybe they'll just go, we don't have the funding now, but in so many months. And you go, okay, sweet, I'll mark that down and I'll hit you up in 3 months. I'll hit you up in 6 months. You have a conference coming up in a year, mark me down. I'll keep getting better, but mark me down. And if you mark me down now, you're going to get the price now, not the price that I'm going to charge in 6 months. So lock it in, Eddie. But yeah, it's just about constantly looking at your life, having that introspection. You know, so many people can't hold the mirror up to themselves. Or if they do, they refuse to look at it without their rose-colored glasses. What elements are lacking? Yes, appreciate what's working, but find out what isn't working. Like I've started reading a lot more. I've got books all around me, whereas I wasn't doing that 7 or 8 years ago. And again, it's just getting comfortable being uncomfortable, constantly growing, because you don't grow from your comfort area.
It sounds like all this time you've had a lot of situations that have, I guess you could say, rewritten your story for you. And you've come to a point where you've taken life by the horns and you decided to write your own life story.
Yeah.
Which is really amazing to see through some of the transitions you've gone through, and you've taken that and you've actually decided to take action yourself. They've been about that catalyst for you.
Yeah, and just sorry, going back to what you said just before, and like this whole podcast is about rewriting your life story. Take control of the pen, write it down. Don't allow other people to take it and control you and go, David, go this way, David, go that way. No. Take the pen and write down your dreams. Write down what you want in 6 years' time. Then reverse engineer it and go, okay, so what do I have to do in order to be living that dream, living the storybook life? Yeah. And that's what I did probably about 8 years ago when I started this speaking journey as well, is I couldn't see it to start off with. Like I knew of Tony Robbins, Les Brown, Eric Thomas, and I saw those guys as gods, but I thought, who am I to get up on stage? But I did courses and I reverse engineered it. I've done countless courses, a lot of self-development and personal growth. Surround myself with the right people and write that story. So I'm in charge of what actions I take. And therefore, if I'm in charge of what actions I take, I'm in charge of the outcomes that I get as well.
David, your passion is just oozing through the screen right now. Oozing through the podcast. But, I'm really curious, what are some of your daily disciplines? Because you talk a lot about discipline. And obviously, there's, like the books, The Slight Edge talks about our daily habits, and they make a huge difference. What are some daily disciplines that you have developed in your own life that have caused change, or daily disciplines that you will recommend to someone that's wanting to rewrite their own life story?
Yeah, well, one for me, which I don't recommend this to everyone, is I'm an early riser. Like you hear people say, I get up at 3 o'clock. Everyone should get up at 3 o'clock. That's not how it is. I do personally get up at 3 o'clock. That's so I can get to the gym by 4 o'clock so that I can because I open the gym at 5:30. So I make sure that I get it done early, because it's about creating time for me, my time. I've got a family. I coach my daughter's soccer team. So I put all these things in, but it's about having time for myself, physically, mentally, and emotionally. So you need to have those pillars strong if I'm going to help other people. So like I said, I read every day. I do videos like every day, whether I put them out there or not. It's all about practice as well. So same as with football, same as with arm wrestling, same as with fighting, same as with my talk. I practice it. I practice doing these videos, so that when I do it, I'm not a bundle of nerves, because I put myself in that situation so many times. So it's just about eating right, staying hydrated. At the moment, because I was rushing in, I was late getting here from soccer, I don't have a bottle of water. Normally I have water everywhere I go. So eating right, staying hydrated, sleeping. Yes, I get up at 3 o'clock in the morning, but I also go to bed at 9 o'clock. So it's not about long sleep, it's about quality sleep. So having a cooler room than normal, having a dark room, having routines, both to get up in the morning, but also to go to bed at night. So it's those routines, those habits that add up day after day after day that really make you become the person that you want to be.
So, David, you just mentioned night routine, and I know a lot of people don't actually have night routines. Give us an example of what that is.
Yeah, well, with me, it's like reading again is another thing. Don't have alcohol. So many people, they have alcohol and they go, I need that to get to sleep. And go, you may pass out, but you don't get to sleep. You don't get restful. and you have that disrupted sleep. What I make sure that we do is we have the fan on so that the air is circulating, and also for a little bit of background noise. I also make sure that we have everything set up ready to go the next morning, because I don't want to be bumping around at night or in the morning at 3:00 in the morning. I want to be as quiet as I can. So make sure that you have things set up. Also have a checkoff list. There's a thing called the Zingarnik effect, where what that is, that closes the loops for the day. So making sure that you also do this at work. I do this after I've done a talk. I do this at home. So you just check it off. Whether it's physically, it's better to do it physically, but whether it's even mentally, you go, have I answered all emails? Yes. Have I done this? Yes. Have I done this? Yes. Is the door locked? Yes. Everything ready to go. And you're closing all of these loops so that you don't wake up halfway through the night and go, did I do A, B, and C? Because you know that you've done it. And then, I get into bed. We have a darkened room, and then we have no TV in there as well. We haven't had a TV in our bedroom for forever. Like I did have when I was a little kid, but since I moved out with my girlfriend, now my wife, we've never had a TV in the room so that there's no distractions. And we try and limit all of that in the lead up to bed as well. So and having the same time. Like I said, I go about 8:30, 9:00. And that's on the weekends as well, because our bodies, they like to stay in that homeostasis. They like to stay in that zone. I still get up and train on the weekends. I still get up and I practice my talk on the weekends. There's no rest, because if you want to be the best at something, you can't choose to do it one day, not the next. Choose to do it and not. You need to be consistent with all of that. And that's going to bed and also waking up with energy, with vim, vigor, and passion, and ready to attack the day.
Awesome. Thank you, David. Yeah.
That sounds like we've got you part of your vitality message.
Yeah, absolutely.
It is.
I'm looking forward to this vitality message, because I know for me, for instance, and for Charlene, like Charlene taught me the art of journaling before going to bed. And for me, it's so important that I just do that what we call before I go to bed, because it just allows me to sleep. And like you, we've never had a TV in our bedroom as well. But probably there's a lot more I can take out of what you said, some of those routines. So absolutely valuable. Vitality. What is vitality to David Lindsay?
That's easy. It's my bread and butter. No, so what is it? It's really about having vim, vigor, passion for what you do, especially in the workplace and in life in general. Because you see so many people on Monday morning, they go, oh, it's Monday. They have Mondayitis. They walk in, they clock on, they walk to their desk. They don't do a great deal of work because they're watching at the clock to when they can go back and clock off. I don't want a life like that for myself. I don't want a life like that for anybody that I know. I want a life that's high in vitality, that's high in energy, that's high in passion, that's just high with all of these good things. And there's ways that you can create it yourself. And that's where spending time as a coach, as an athlete, spending time with my wrestling coach, talking about all these different philosophies, that's where we come up with our 5 steps towards improved vitality. What it is to me in a nutshell.
Tell me the 5 steps quickly, and if people want to know more, they can definitely go to your website, which is davidlindsay.com.au, I believe. But tell us quickly in a nutshell. Don't give too much away, because obviously we want people to come to your website. But in a nutshell, tell us what these 5 steps are.
Certainly. So the first one is creating routines and rituals to snap into action. We can do it each and every day. We have a choice to snap into action. So that's what the first one is. The second one is napping for peak performance. We're not designed to work 24/7, 365. So knowing how, when, and why to nap for peak performance. And this can be having a lunch break. This can be just having time out to yourself to recover physically.
Not sleep. When you say sleep, just a break.
Yeah, so sleeping is an important element of it. And when I go into the long ones, not the 1 hour, I don't have enough time to go into sleep in that part. But when I go into the workshops, sleep is part of napping, because it's all about resting, recovering, recuperating, and then ready to snap back into action. So you can't perform at your best if you're drained. You can't perform your best if your eyes are bugging you out of your head. You have to be rested. You have to be recovered from the day before. Because think about a weight training session. You do squats, you've stressed the muscle out, you've created micro tears in the muscle, but you give it time to recover. And then you go back and you do it again and again. And that's where growth comes in. And that's where you get bigger, you get faster, you get stronger through that stressing it out, but allowing it to recover. And that's what the nap is. Then the third one is tapping. Many people think of tapping as giving up and quitting, but we learn to reframe that, allow you to step back, analyze the situation, realign, reconnect, and refocus at the task at hand. This time going about it with a different strategy to not get caught in that position again. Then the next one, the fourth step, it's clap. It's celebrating. All too often, we let completed projects go by unannounced, unrewarded. We let excellence go by unrewarded. This is a perfect time to celebrate. We do it all the time in sports, but very rarely in our home life and very rarely in our business life.
That's true.
So it's really about bringing everyone together, getting the team to work for each other because they know, like, and trust. And then the fifth and final step is recap, which is all about continuous, never-ending improvement in absolutely everything we do so that you can go back. You can watch the videos, what worked, what didn't work. Then when you find out what didn't work, why didn't it work? What can I do next time? If it's with fighting, do I have to learn a different discipline? Do I have to learn how to strike better? Do I have to learn more how to wrestle? So what can I do each and every day to get that little bit better, After I do my talk, I watch it twice. I listen to it once. So first time I'll listen to it and I'll make sure that the message got across. Did I hit the right tones? Was I monotone or was I engaging? Did people really get what I was talking about? Then I watch it without the sound. So I make sure that my body language goes along with my message. So do the points that I hit, do they hit even if there's no volume? And then I watch it a third time with both to make sure that it works together as a unit, to make sure that it works together for maximal impact. And yes, I like watching what worked, but what elements didn't. And knowing that I'm never going to get 100% perfect, and that's perfectly fine. But so long as I'm getting that little bit better, that little bit closer each and every time, I'm stoked with that. I'm happy with that.
David, if a person is new to all of this and, they doing the whole 5 is just too overwhelming for them because they're new to personal development, they're new to, rewriting their life story, they're coming out of that darkness as you referred to it before. What is just one thing that you would encourage them to do?
Snap into action. That's the most important one. And I'll give them 2 little tips on how you can instantly change your mood. We all have our mobile phones within arm's reach, just about 24/7, 365. So with that, we also have access to music. Music is a great mood alterer. It can help pump you up if you're feeling a bit flat, or it can also really help calm you down if you're feeling a bit anxious. So put on some music, put on your headphones, something that's going to get you into the appropriate sort of mood, something that's going to get you smiling, something that's going to get you moving. Like when I was fighting, I'd come out to Wolf Mother, Joker, and the Thief. And now I don't even have to hear it. I think about it and it gets me excited. I have certain songs, certain playlists that I put on when I need to be pumped up, when I need to be energetic. And along with that, you'll see that I'm standing up. I'm not sitting down. And that's because the emotion is led by motion. So I can move a lot more by standing up. I'm standing tall. I'm not standing slouchy. You saw when I said that people walk in, clock on, walk off, quite often they're hunched, they're forward. So using the power of posture, using the Superman pose, walking with power, passion, and purpose. And then you bring those 2 together. You put your headphones on and then you walk with power, passion, and purpose. And people will notice the difference. People will vibe off you. People go, man, I wonder what those guys are on. I want some of that. And then it's catchy because people want that energy. People need that energy. They just don't know how to go about getting it. So if you bring it and then you explain to them how you did it, then it's that positive bubble keeps getting bigger, keeps getting bigger, keeps getting bigger. And that's a place that I want to be involved in.
Yeah, I love that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Love it.
What's been the most rewarding part for you in rewriting your story?
I love looking back
Yeah.
looking back at where I've come from and seeing each obstacle as merely a turning point. The obstacles don't stop you if you don't let them. If you let them stop you, obviously, you're going to sit down. As I said, when COVID hit, some people did sit in the corner and go, "Oh, poor me." It's that mentality that I've had to be able to go back. I had 2 knee reconstructions. I didn't sit down and go, "Oh, poor me." I worked on my upper body. I snapped my arm became paralyzed. For a little bit, I did go, "Poor me," but then I picked myself up. I dust myself off, and then I kept moving forward. And it's about being, because, same thing with the Steve Jobs thing again. When you're in the journey as well, you don't take time to look back, and you don't realize how far you've come. You don't realize how, like, that little step, it adds up. Take time to occasionally look back and give yourself that pat on the shoulder. Celebrate yourself, celebrate where you are now, but also celebrate the stuff that you've been through, because it really creates who you are. And that's one thing, like my wife said to me, she goes, "You don't have any regrets, do you?" And I go, honestly, I do my best not to, because that's one thing we can't undo. You can never undo the past. So even with the big injuries that I've had, with the injury that she's had, yes, they're bad times. They're tough times, but we learn and we grow as a result of it. So long as you move forward with it, it's never a bad thing. Might be a bad thing in that moment, but you look for that silver ray shine. You look for that sunlight to be shining out. And then you take that and then you go, the person I am now is a direct result of all of the obstacles that I've been through in my past. So I don't want to be sitting there when I'm 80, 90 years old going, if only I had have done this, if only I had have done that. I'd rather fail now than talk about the what ifs, talk about the if onlys.
Great point. Great point.
Absolutely.
What are some misconceptions that you find that your audience have when it comes to rewriting their own story?
Oh, it's that they're stuck in the one spot. It's even some trees move. So like when people go, like, we're not trees. We have the freedom to get up and go wherever we want. And my wife doesn't like it when I say this. When I go, we all have choices. You can choose to get up and go to work. You can choose to get up and get a paycheck, or you can choose to sit on your butt, watch Netflix, then eventually not make money, not be able to pay the bills, and then not be able to watch Netflix. But that's all choices. You also have choices to get up, not work for someone else, but rewrite your own history, or rewrite your life story and become your own boss. We all have those things. You may be stuck in mud for a little while. What you can do is untie your shoelaces, step out of them, but keep on moving. Make those choices. You make enough correct choices, the end result is going to be correct. You make enough incorrect choices, the end result isn't going to be that good. But more often than not, it's not one choice you make. It's choice after choice after choice. Yeah. And so many people want instant gratification. A big thing that I talk about is delayed gratification is so much more satisfying, which is why you can eat a cake now and you're satisfied instantly, but in 5 minutes, you're rolling around feeling sick. Yeah. Short term, it doesn't work. Long-term gratification.
Awesome. I love that. I love that. I noticed on your website that you're the ambassador for Fighters Against Child Abuse Australia.
Yeah.
Tell us more about that mission and what got you involved in that.
Yeah, it started many, many years ago when I was fighting. And the school that I used to train at was actually with Adam, where he's a founder of FACAR. And it's something that's like really close to my heart as well, because, having a daughter myself, being able to hold her when she's minutes old, just knowing that she has all the opportunity in the future, but at that time, like she's so vulnerable. And just looking at kids out there, it's unfortunate. And I actually spoke to him a couple of days ago, And I go, Adam, I'm so stoked with the stuff that you guys are doing. You're getting out there, you're changing legislations, you're doing this, you're doing that. And he goes, David, it's unfortunate. I wish we didn't have to exist. And that just, it made me feel good that he's doing it, but then it made me feel not good that, yeah, that they do have to exist, because kids out there, kids are our future, and they're so precious that why would people, I can't even imagine the mindset of people that they go and do this horrible stuff. So I was there with Adam when he was talking about it. I was actually training him, and he was using it as a way to stall from doing some hard training. I'm going to go, Adam, stop stalling. We'll talk about it afterwards. But you either better do it this week or do it not at all. And so he got it started that week. And yeah, it's something that really hits home for me, and more so once you have a kid. Pardon?
What is some of the work that they do?
Yeah, so he can only tell me limited amount of stuff, but I know that they've actually taken kids from abusive situations and they've had to move them to different places. It's also about breaking the cycle where kids that are abused, they actually become the abusers. So they try and use martial arts as a way to break that cycle, because if they can break that cycle, they're hoping eventually the chain can break. And they're also bringing changes to legislation as well with certain laws. They're going into government, and they're talking to people. They're opening people's eyes to what, like, child abusers getting away with this, getting away with that, or getting minimal sentences, where really whatever happens to that kid, that's with them for the rest of their life. If this person only has to do 6 months. So it's stuff like that. And I'm just super proud of being able to be there with Adam at the start and still be throwing my support behind Adam to this very day and far into the future through Fakar.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And what a great cause, and what we'll do is we'll put a link on the show notes if anyone wants to know more on how they can support Fighters Against Child Abuse Australia, either financially or through their time or something, whatever they want.
I appreciate that, because it's something that knowing Adam, how he's such a great bloke, but just the difference that they're having on kids in Australia, and then hopefully they'll get different bands around, so it won't just be Fighters Against Child Abuse Australia, it'll be Fighters Against Child Abuse globally. Wow. So that's really a big aim, but you have to aim higher.
Yeah, awesome.
Absolutely. David, we usually end off with a couple of last questions, and one of those sounds like you've already answered some of that. So what advice would you give to someone who wants to rewrite their own life story?
Pick up the pen. If someone else is writing it, get it off them. Like, take it off. It's your pen. It's your book. It's your chance to write it. We only get one chance at this, so make the most of it.
Love it.
Awesome. Thank you, David.
And if you could go back and rewrite your life story now, what would it look like?
How it is. I love where I'm at the moment, and I'm excited for what I've written that's going to happen. I'm super excited about that. So even with all the bumps and bruises along the way is what's made me who I am. It's the skills that I've got today. So like I said with my wife, it's about living without regrets, not saying the what if. If I had have taken the easy option and gone to Cronulla, I would be going, oh, what if? My life would be so much different. But I'd be going, what if I went to South Sydney? If I said no to that arm wrestling, I wouldn't have got this story. My life would be different. But I'd be going, what if I said yes to that? So even with all the bumps, the bruises, the breaks, all that sort of stuff, I'm happy with my family. I'm happy with my life. I'm happy with where I'm headed as well, because I've taken the pen and I'm writing my own story.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing, David.
David, it's been awesome having you on the show tonight. Thank you so much. And if people want to know more about David, please go to davidlindsay.com.au, where you can find more about his program, Vitality, and also about his coaching services. Thank you, David.
Thank you very much. I've had a blast. Hopefully the listeners have got something that they can use straight away to snap into action.
Awesome. Thank you. Now that we've interviewed our guest, join Charlene and I as we recap today's episode. Well, you really can see David's passion as he was talking.
Absolutely. He's just so full of energy and really passionate about what he does.
And you know what? If you think about it, like his story is a unique story, as in the injury is what brought him down to the rabbit hole. So it wasn't something in his control, nor is most people's story in his control. But from that, he developed his 5-step system, which is quite an interesting system. And I like how he's put the names to it, snap, nap, clap, tap, recap. It's really
so
interesting.
Easy to remember.
And it's so easy to remember, and it's really catchy. And, he's delivering this training to the business world, to trainers, to professional athletes. So he's really gone far with his concept of how he reinvented himself, wrote his life story, and helping others rewrite their life story.
Absolutely. So what he's essentially done is taken something that was out of his control and taken control back to rewrite his own life story, to creating this system for other people.
Thank you for listening to our podcast today. We hope you found it informative and inspiring. If you enjoyed this episode, please like and share it with your friends and family. Also, make sure to visit our website at www.rewriteyourlifestory.com.au to learn more about our mission, products and services. And remember, you have the power to rewrite your own life story. So go out there, face your challenges head on, and create the life you've always wanted. We'll see you in the next episode.